Little bit of breaking news here. X is offline for some unknown reason. X not functioning. You can call it Twitter if you'd like, but I'll call it X. It's not functioning right now. I don't know if it's localized, but I've talked to a number of people who say they're having the same problem. I don't know why that is. And so there it is. All right. November 15th. Since the earth cooled, has been opening day for firearm deer season in Michigan. I mean, as long as I've been alive, November 15th. This is the first time, by the way, it landed on a Saturday, first time in 11 years. Opening day came on a Saturday. And look, I will tell you this. I wish when I was younger, and I hunted a lot. I hunted professionally, for those of you who don't know. I hunted professionally for 25 years. I wish I had taken a lot better care of my hearing. That's for sure. My next guest says it's imperative. Knox Williams is the executive director of the American Suppressor Association. Knox, welcome to the program.
Steve, thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, huh? I'm kidding. But my ears do ring constantly. I wish when I was younger I'd been smarter about taking care of my hearing. Shotguns, rifles, all of it. We fired a lot. We spent a lot of time in the field and never paid a lot of attention. I didn't when I was younger to hearing protection. I wish I had, because I've paid a price for that. Now, a suppressor, which is not a silencer, this is not Hollywood, but a suppressor can certainly cut down on the decibels and the blast and the report of certainly a rifle when you're hunting deer, can it?
Absolutely. And you're spot on. You know, guns are loud to the point that exposure to a single gunshot can and will lead to permanent and irreversible hearing damage. And suppressors are a very effective tool at mitigating that noise at the source, which makes shooting and makes hunting a much safer experience.
Yeah, so what are you advocating for? Because, you know, those on the left would have you believe these are silencers and it'll lead to crime and this and all sorts of mythology, which that's what it is, mythology. It's not real. Same people that told us that if we legalized concealed carry, there'd be gunfights in the street every day. Of course, that hasn't happened. Crime has gone down because an armed society is a polite society, generally speaking. What are you advocating for? What do you think should be the use of suppressors going forward, whether it's hunting or anything else?
Yeah, so our goals are pretty simple. We think that all law-abiding Americans should be able to own and use suppressors for any lawful purpose in all 50 states. So that's being able to own a suppressor, being able to use them in the field while hunting, and we don't think that they should be heavily regulated or included in the National Firearms Act, the federal legislation that passed in 1934 that has regulated these things for the past 91 years. Thankfully, we just helped get rid of the tax through President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Effective January 1st, you will no longer have to pay $200 to buy these hearing protection devices to the government. But, you know, this is a fight that we've been having for the past 14 years. We spent several years on the ground in Michigan, actually, advocating for the use of suppressors while hunting. In February of 2016, we were successful in a 4-1 vote getting the Natural Resources Commission to approve the use of suppressors in the field by hunters in Michigan. Interestingly, if memory serves, the one dissenting vote, I believe, was in a relationship with a Michael Bloomberg anti-gun Everytown lobbyist. So, you know, that was a foregone conclusion. But, you know, 4-1 is still a pretty overwhelming majority for that.
So, you know, because here's the thing. They line up against suppressors, they being those that are anti-gun to begin with, for the most part, or ones that are in a tight election and think, well, if I say yes to this, it'll look like I'm a pro-gun, whatever. Any chance of getting this through in Michigan? And what about other states? Are suppressors legal in some places and not in others?
Yeah, so we did get it through in Michigan. Currently, you can own a suppressor in 42 states. You can hunt with a suppressor in 41. And over the course of the tenure of our organization, we helped legalize them in 3 states for ownership: Iowa, Minnesota, and Vermont. We helped legalize them in 19 states, including in Michigan, for the use while hunting. So we've got a lot of experience doing that. And it's actually an issue that's not always a partisan issue. We've had a tremendous amount of support from Democratic lawmakers and regulators supporting the issue because it's just good science. You know, obviously that's not going to help us break through in places like New York State or Illinois or California, which is why we're involved in litigation to try and legalize them in those remaining states. But there has been a tremendous amount of movement. But you're right, the anti-gunners have really dug in their heels. And the best argument that they have is willful ignorance at best, and propaganda really more so at its core.
Yeah. So where do we need to go from here then? 41 states you can hunt with, 42 states you can use them. What, in Michigan where I am, I don't have a suppressor. Are they expensive? Do I have to fill out extra paperwork? Do I have to do a background check? What are the rules?
Yeah, so in order to purchase a suppressor, you filled out what's called a Form 4 with the ATF. And that basically it's very similar to the same form that you use when you purchase a firearm at a gun dealer. Up until January 1st, when the new law takes effect, you do have to pay a $200 transfer tax. That's been on the books since 1934. It's a complete deterrent to try and stop people from buying these things. But nonetheless, beginning January 1, you won't have to pay that. The ATF currently takes several days to process that paperwork. Then they get it back to your dealer and you can pick it up. They're basically running the exact same background check that they run anytime you buy a rifle, pistol, or shotgun. A lot of people think it's some super secret, intensive background check. It's not. It's literally a FBI NICS check, which is the same thing that happens when you purchase a normal firearm. From our perspective, suppressors are a wonderful tool. There's really no reason not to use them when you're in the field. Despite that, we know 70 to 80% of hunters never wear hearing protection. Steve, question for you. When you hunt, do you wear earplugs or earmuffs?
I don't. No, I don't, and I should. I I made the mistake once of I was in a ground blind, a cloth blind, in Africa actually, and I touched off the rifle and the muzzle was not out the window of the blind. Ouch. Just because it was not unsafe, just terribly, terribly loud, and I think my ear's been ringing ever since, Knox. I got to leave it there. I greatly appreciate it. Where can people find you online real quick?
American Suppressor Association.com. But to your point, I think our website is actually down at the moment because of a cloud outage.
Yeah, it's Cloudflare, folks. I'll tell you more about that after the break. Knox, thank you for being here. Come back anytime.
Thank you, sir.
Greatly appreciate it. There you have it. Protect your hearing, folks. Trust me, my ears ring constantly. And it's from hunting and shooting guns and playing the drums and screaming like a ninny, that sort of thing.